Peace, family, friends, and loved ones out there. I hope everyone's doing great. I hope everybody understands that we are going through the shift. Spring has already kicked in, and now that everything is blooming and coming to the surface, now we have to express that love that we have not only for self but for others around us because we want this to cycle in and come back to us in this cycle that's upcoming, right? So we're just coming into tourist season. So shout out to all the tourists out there. Um, this is the earth sign, so you know you should be doing a lot of grounding, meditating with high intentions. And so today's show topic is may you receive a sign of love today. And that's because that's showing you that you're on the right path. You're on the right road moving forward towards love and not lust, right? And I say lust because this is the time where your imagination can take you down a rabbit hole and have you desiring things that doesn't serve you in the present moment, right? Right now you're practicing what serves you in the present moment, and that's accepting and sharing love. Because in the present moment, we all can do a little bit more sharing, right? We can share more energy and thoughtfulness with each thought that we have around others. And no matter if they're strangers or they're friends or family, we can have a high, vibrant conversation with them or without them and about them, right? And so that's what we want to do. We want to begin to trust that the more we put out in the world will come back from within, right? And we talked about the Heavens Bank and how Heaven Bank allows us to store and I say store, but invest not only in ourselves but in others by just the expression of thought and love, right? So just accept what's given to you and just live in this moment, right? This moment of creation and coexistence with the higher powers and I say just a higher vibration of people that's more aware and conscious of today's times, right? So just trust that you are being supported by the universe and it's channeling through you to show that you trust your bigger self, right? Your present self and not the shadow or the present, or not the past self, right? The shadow and the past always have kept us feeling like we have to keep attending to that period of time. But really, it's the present moment that we have to put all our energy and power into, right? And we have to trust that we're doing that. And if we allow trust to come into the spaces that we have, and when we allow that to happen, then we can see all the abundance that is around us, right? All this abundance that we can use. Um, because there's so much energy so much more energy that we can use at in the present moment. It's like so much that we have to be very decisive and organize and plan what we want to use because there's just too much. There's just too much. And so you don't want to be overwhelmed and get into a stagnant because you don't know which direction your energy is going. And that's why I say it's important just to express the love that you have for yourself. And from there, let that surround you, right? I said let that surround you because when you're facing anything with adversity, right, you want people to be able to support you, right? And you trust that you keep good people around you so when you go through any adversity, they can let you know what what you can do or how they can help. And from there, you can work with what you have. Because trying to worry and let your fears bring bring upon thoughts that put you in a position where your lower emotions start to take control over your present moment. And then that's when you start to lose the faith, right? Because the faith is established by the trust that you lay out with yourself. And that trust that you have within yourself is going to keep that strong faith, right? And that strong faith that you have will be able to balance the scales. And so when I think about how strong your faith is, there's a question I want to pose to you, and you can just drop it down in the comments. Um, what side of faith are you on? And I'm going to make two sides just for the conversation. But think about it. There's the faith of God, right? That's one side. And then you have faith in God, and that's another side. So I'm going to briefly talk about the two sides, and then you can let me know which side do you see yourself on or participating with, right? So I'll start with the faith in God, right? The faith in God is saying that you have understanding of who and what God does. And that's not to say you have a high understanding or a low understanding. It's just saying that you are aware and you have some understanding that you do have faith in God. And then you have your prayer and the praying. That shows that you have faith in God. And then you also witness things that God does in your life or in others. So you're observing. And so that's how you have another way of having faith in God, right? And then on the other side of faith, you have the faith of God. And so the faith of God is more being in the knowingness of you're not understanding anything. There's no need for the understanding because you know and you hold the knowledge, but the power to act upon what you know. So it's more than the understanding of having knowingness. And then you have forgiveness. Forgiveness is a huge part of having the faith of God because the forgiveness allows everything to have a clean slate. And that's what we are praying for sometimes, right? For a clean slate, for more to come, to take things out and people out of our lives. So that's the same thing as the forgiveness, but the forgiveness is on a higher level of praying, right, or consistent praying, right. Then on the side of the faith of God, you have the obedience. It's like when your spirit and your souls tell you something, you automatically do it and don't question the thought or the sound that you get that tells you to take a certain action. The obedience is showing that you have the faith of God. It's not saying you're just witnessing and observing things and then reflecting and letting things pass by without taking any action, right? So those are the two different sides of faith. And I would like to know, which side do you see yourself on? Because if you're in the faith of God, then you cover the faith in God side. And if you have the faith in God, then you're moving towards becoming to having the faith of God, right? And just know and expect to meet God from within you. So when you're having all this faith and building this faith up, when you decide to put an identity to that faith, just know it's going to be you, meaning the God is within you. You're going to see the same reflection of your God from within you. So the faith is very important, right? So we can talk a little bit more about how sleep, your physical sleep, is important to your faith. And I say it's important to your faith because before you go to sleep at night and you have your prayers and you having the things that you're asking for the forgiveness before you lay your head down, is that the body is going to be at rest, but the spirit doesn't rest. And I mean, the spirit doesn't rest and the soul doesn't rest. And then it's in this time of sleep, we are being approached by different realms of life that we have to be aware of and conscious of. So, in your dream state, you have to understand that when you're having a dream, your subconscious is communicating to you and it's letting you know what challenges and what obstacles that you might be facing in the upcoming future. And that means in the present moment in your awakening. When you become awakened to these problems and challenges, then your dreams are already communicating to you about that. And it's saying that you have unfinished work that you need to come up with resolutions and solve and dissolve these things through thought and your breath, right? Because your consciousness will bring you up to a level of knowingness in the present moment to be able to overstand everything that needs to take place for you to move on and to continue on, right? So, when we sleep and the body's at rest, our mind has to be it has to be addressed when it awakens, right? So when you first awaken from sleep, you must do a mental hygiene. A mental hygiene is where you ask for all your debts, mentally, physically, to be removed. For all the dis-ease and discomfort that you might have in your body or in your mind to be removed. For all the toxin thoughts from the food, the media that you take in to be removed, right? This mental hygiene has to happen every single day after awakening. And then the next thing you have to do after doing that, you have to ask your soul. You have to ask your soul, what is it that you're trying to communicate to me, right? And that's kind of reflecting back on your dreams, right? What dream did you have? That's why some people do dream journaling, right? They write down their dreams so they can recall on the communication that they're getting from their subconscious mind. And their subconscious mind is telling them they have some things consciously that they need to be aware of, right? And to be aware of because you want to take in each breath of life with the knowingness of the present moment. And if each breath you take and you have fears and worries within that space, then that knowingness becomes less of a power for you to use in the present moment, right? And then you be coming down to a lower level of consciousness and to understanding. And when you start to have to figure out how to understand things, that's when your fears and the worriness is working back in to your knowingness of what things are to be and to come. Right? We have all this self-intelligence about who we are and what we are, and that's done through the breath. Each breath that we take enhances us on what we need to be enhanced on. But we have to be conscious enough and aware enough to know with each breath that's what we're doing. We're not just imagining that we have pure conscious energy. We're knowing that when we imagine that that energy is creating the thoughts to come, creating the path to take. It's like magic, right? It's a story that's involving onto others, but it's still revealing your secret powers and what you believe in and how it leads to one big miracle. And like I said, like let it be a sign of love that someone receives from your energy, from your light, on how you not only trust the universe, but you trust those around you, right? That energy, that light that you show, they can now see and now they can move forward and they can pass on the buck. And I say pass on the buck because that's something that we have to do. We have to pass on this energy, right? What you receive in life or what you receive from the universe from within, you have to give back out to the current life force, right? It's a law. It's something that naturally happens when you are in tune and in alignment with the universe around you. You make it, then you give it. You make it and you give it. You make it and you give it. And then that continues to multiply in multiple ways. And everybody gets enough of it. It's like, when Rod channels his energy through you and you have a plan and that energy changes your plan and affects more people in the plan, but overall, everyone benefited from it, but you might have some challenges and some struggles and some obstacles to pull it off, but you were able to, right? You were able to see the celebration at the end of the day. And that's what we're doing. We're celebrating with each other on just recognizing the love that we have to share. It doesn't have to be a birthday. It doesn't have to be an anniversary. It doesn't have to be anything that has a title to this is why we're doing it. This should just be the present moment energy, right? The reason why we should be passing the signs of love on to each other at this present moment, right? So just try to understand that your imagination, your faith, all these things are working while you sleep, in your dream state, and also while you're in your conscious and present moment. So you can do a lot of investments and a lot of banking from within and getting your heaven bank stocked up to where now you're just giving out all this love and all this love currency, and people appreciate that and they know how to use that. They don't abuse your spiritual love like they abuse your physical love. People do not abuse your spiritual love like they abuse your physical love. Okay? So start sharing that spiritual energy, that spiritual love, and trust that the universe is doing that for you and those around you is doing it for you as well. Hmm. And I think that's about all I'm going to share today. But just know that your breath with Ra is an action of the coexistence of working together and having the awareness. And the key is all about unity, right? Your breath is working with Ra and it's co creating, and showing the connection through each breath. And that's the unity that you have from within. With that said, Rafiki, to all my family, friends, and loved ones out there, make sure you pray, protect yourself, watch over your thoughts, and allow love to touch you. Ashe.